I handed over my ID as collateral. Now someone else is living my life with it. I never thought I'd end up begging a stranger to trust me with a job just so I wouldn't have to sleep in my car again. Back in February, my lease ended. Not because I wanted it to, my roommate bailed early, couldn't cover the rent, and I wasn't going to make it solo. The job I had then barely kept me afloat, and I didn't have much savings. City life, you know. You either make it or get crushed under the weight of it. I didn't make it. I work in graphic design. Freelance mostly, though that makes it sound more glamorous than it is. Mostly logo revamps, pitch decks, the occasional website layout for a startup that won't make it past 6 months. When you don't have a permanent gig, landlords don't exactly welcome you with open arms. I had no family to turn to, mom passed 5 years ago, dad's been out of the picture longer than I've been legal. So, I started looking for places on the cheap. Sublets, short-term rentals, anything. That's how I met this guy, Keith. Said he ran a few properties out in Flatbush, Brooklyn. Met him through a roommate finder app. We talked over coffee in a diner off Nostrand Avenue. He had the whole chill landlord vibe, oversized hoodie, baseball cap, talked about how he's just trying to help out guys like me get on their feet. Red flags? Sure. But desperation makes you colorblind. He said there was a room available immediately. Rent was cheap, almost too good to be true. Cash only, of course. And here's the kicker, he didn't want a deposit. Just something to show me you're serious, he said. You give me your ID, driver's license, passport, whatever, I hold it just until you pay your first month. Then you get it back. Simple. I should have walked. But I was tired, broke, and running out of options. So I handed over my driver's license. He gave me the key to a basement room in a row house about 15 minutes from the diner. Place was fine, cold, barely any light, but it had a bed and a lock. I figured I'd stay a month, find something better. I never saw Keith again. A week later, a couple showed up and said they'd rented the room through a different ad. Said the guy they dealt with went by Jason. I packed my stuff and left before it got ugly. Slept in my car for a bit. Got a few temp gigs, moved into another sketchy sublet. Life went on. Then the mail started. First it was a parking ticket from Queens. My car's never been there. Then came an overdue notice from a credit card company I'd never heard of. Chase. I don't even bank with them. I called them. Got bounced around departments until someone asked me to confirm my social. I told them I wasn't comfortable with that over the phone. They said fine, then started listing charges, $1,200 from an electronics store, a few hundred on DoorDash, a hotel room in Atlantic City. All tied to an account under my name. My name. My address, but not the address I lived at. A.P.O. Box. My driver's license had been used as ID to open the account. That's when the panic really set in. I filed a report. Identity theft. Got a case number, spoke to a detective who sounded like he'd rather be anywhere else. I tried to explain, about the sublet, the guy who took my license. You gave it to him willingly, he asked. I said yes, but it wasn't supposed to be permanent. You're not the first, he said, scribbling in his notepad. Won't be the last. Weeks went by. I thought it would die down. But it got worse. I got a call from a bank in Jersey asking if I was planning to make a payment on a $14,000 loan. I laughed, thought it was a scam. Until they sent the paperwork. My name. My license. Even my old signature. The bastard had forged it, but it was good. Too good. A week later, I got summoned. Real court summons. Certified mail. Some sleazy auto finance company saying I defaulted on a car loan, a Tesla, no less. Registered under my name. At some address in Staten Island. I'd never even been to Staten Island. I went to the police again. They told me to contact the FTC, file a report with the credit bureaus, freeze my credit, all that. I did. I stayed up all night sending emails, uploading PDFs, verifying accounts, canceling cards. But the system is slow. And it doesn't care. Everywhere I turn, I'm treated like I'm lying. Like I'm some deadbeat who maxed out his credit and is now trying to weasel out of paying it back. The court wants proof. The lenders want explanations. The banks keep calling. My credit score tanked. My job prospects dried up. I can't even rent a room now because no one trusts someone with a credit report that looks like a crime scene. And the worst part? I still don't have my ID. I kept thinking it would slow down. That there was some bottom to this. There wasn't. I was working temp gigs to stay afloat, delivery apps, some warehouse shifts, anything to keep from falling behind. I'd sleep 5 hours a night and spend the rest of my time on the phone with banks, credit bureaus, or the police. And it always came down to the same question. You gave your ID to someone? They say it like it's the dumbest thing in the world. Like I handed them a gun and stood still. They're not wrong. I hate that they're not wrong. I filed paperwork. So much damn paperwork. Police reports. Affidavits of fraud. Identity theft declarations. I mailed copies of my social, my birth certificate, and every utility bill I had left to prove who I really was. Every form asked the same things in different words. And then came the email that made my stomach flip. Your application for rental assistance has been denied due to existing leases associated with your SSN. I stared at the screen, rereading it like it might change. Leases? I'd only ever been on 2, my last apartment, and 1 way back in college. I requested the records. Took a week to get them. There were 3. 1 in Jersey City. 1 in the Bronx. 1 in Manhattan, a luxury high-rise with a doorman and $3,600 rent. All signed under my name. All with my license as proof of ID. I saw scanned copies of the applications. My photo. My name. Even my signature. Except I'd never been there. I stared at the signature on 1 lease, it looked close. Real close. Even I had to squint. They got it from something. Old job form? A scanned W-9? I don't know. But it passed every test the leasing office had. And it made me look like a liar. I brought all this to the precinct. Sat in a cheap plastic chair under fluorescent lights for hours before anyone even looked at my file. I told them about Keith, or Jason, or whatever the hell his name really was. I showed the rental records, the loans, the court summonses. The officer, Detective Halprin, I think, leaned back and said, "You got played. There's probably 10 more like you out there. These guys run scams, harvest IDs, set up burner accounts, and bounce." I asked, "So what do I do?" He scratched his head. "You're doing it. File your reports. Freeze your credit. Dispute everything. Will that fix it?" He looked at me like a guy who'd seen too many people already broken. Maybe. Eventually. I walked out of there feeling like a ghost. A guy who existed on paper in 3 cities, under 3 addresses, with 3 versions of his life, none of them mine. That night I got an email from a collections agency. Subject line, delinquent account, final notice. Someone had defaulted on a $9,000 furniture loan at a store in Queens. Beds. Couches. A huge TV. All delivered. All under my name. I didn't even have a bed at that point. I was sleeping on a futon in someone's living room, paying cash to avoid credit checks. The landlord's son, some kid barely out of high school, had Googled my name. Found the court notice. Found the unpaid loan. Next morning, I was told I had 5 days to vacate. Didn't matter that I wasn't the guy. Didn't matter that I had the paperwork. All that mattered was that I looked like a risk. I moved out the next day. Back into my car. The world gets small when you don't have an address. You realize how many things need one. Bank accounts. Job applications. Cell phone plans. Hell, even buying something online. Try doing that when your billing address is none. I stopped checking the mail I forwarded to my friend's place. Stopped answering unknown numbers. There was nothing good coming anymore. Just the slow unraveling of everything I thought made me real. And then came the letter. White envelope. Courthouse seal. A formal notice of civil judgment. I owed $22,000 on a loan I never took. I had 30 days to respond or face wage garnishment. My social. My name. My signature. All there. The system had made up its mind. I wasn't just a victim. I was the debtor now. I thought the court notice was rock bottom. It wasn't. When you get a judgment like that, they don't just sit on it. They act. Fast. Garnishments. Liens. Even seizure if you've got anything worth grabbing, which I didn't. But I knew I had to get ahead of it, or at least try. So I did what I thought was the right thing. I walked into the bank that issued the loan. Sat down with some branch manager. Clean-cut guy. Navy suit, tightly knotted tie. I showed him the letter, my ID, the police reports, the fraud paperwork. Told him I never took the loan. Never even stepped foot in the branch listed on the form. He nodded politely. Took my documents. Asked me to wait while he got a fraud specialist. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Then 2 guys in suits came out. One stood in front of me, blocking the exit. The other sat across from me and asked again to see my ID. I handed it over. Sir, he said slowly, this ID was flagged. We have reason to believe it's been used in multiple fraudulent transactions. I know, I said. That's why I'm here. I'm the victim. He didn't smile. And that's why we've contacted the authorities. I laughed. Thought he was bluffing. He wasn't. 15 minutes later, 2 uniformed officers walked into the branch and asked me to stand. I did, slowly, with my palms open, and tried to explain. I'm here because someone stole my identity. I'm the one trying to fix it. One of the cops asked, "Do you have any proof?" I pointed to the paperwork. The affidavit. The FTC report. The police case number. They glanced at it and shrugged. You'll have time to explain that downtown. They cuffed me right there in front of a line of people. Didn't fight it. Just lowered my head and walked. Booking was a blur. They didn't hold me long. The station had my original report on file, same name, same ID number, same guy sitting in their holding cell. It was some clerical hell loop. A system chewing on itself and calling it justice. They released me that evening. No charges. But the damage? That was already done. The woman I'd just started seeing ghosted me the next day. Can't blame her. Who wants to date a guy who gets arrested in banks? And just like that, I was radioactive. The job I'd been working, a freelance gig doing brand assets for a startup, didn't return my emails. Found out later they'd run a background check and dropped me. Not for criminal charges, but for identity inconsistency. That's the phrase that follows me now. I tried getting a new license, went to the DMV, waited in line for 3 hours. But when they pulled up my file, the clerk frowned. There's already a pending reissue request, she said. What? It says your ID was reported lost, and a replacement is being mailed to a P.O. box in Jersey City. That was 2 days ago. Now someone out there has a fresh copy of my ID. Same name. Same photo. Same number. And I'm back to square one. I stopped sleeping through the night after the DMV visit. Every time I shut my eyes, I'd see him, this faceless version of me, walking around in my skin. Signing papers. Smiling for cameras. Living a life built on the pieces he stole from mine. I used to think identity theft meant someone buying sneakers online or running up your credit card. A hassle, yeah, but fixable. This was different. This guy, whoever he was, wasn't just stealing from me. He was becoming me. On paper. In systems. In the eyes of the law. And he was sloppy now. Bold. I got a call from a realtor in Queens asking if I was planning to renew the lease for another year. When I said I didn't know what she was talking about, she got quiet. "But you're already on the lease," she said. "Your name's here. Along with someone named Roman. I assumed you two were roommates." Roman. That was the name on one of the Chase accounts, the one that opened with my ID and someone else's phone number. I'd seen it buried in the paperwork when I was combing through my reports. Roman Haskins. I asked the realtor for the address. She wouldn't give it to me. Said it was against policy. But she confirmed it was in Ridgewood. Lease signed 6 months ago. 2-bedroom unit. When I pushed harder, she told me something else. "Your half of the rent always comes late," she said, "but it gets paid. In cash." Hand-delivered by Roman. That hit different. He wasn't hiding. He was using my name openly. Casually. Handing cash to people like it was normal. And every time he did, the record deepened. I made a new police report. New affidavit. Updated my FTC claim. But I could feel it, something had shifted. The cops stopped returning my calls. The credit agencies stopped updating the disputes. It was like the system had decided, this wasn't fraud anymore. This was just who I was now. A guy with bad credit, delinquent loans, and too many addresses. Even my phone started acting weird. I'd get 2-step verification texts for apps I didn't use. Calls from unfamiliar area codes that'd hang up after one ring. I factory reset it twice. Changed every password I had. Got a new SIM. But the feeling wouldn't leave. That hum in the back of my skull, like I was being watched. Or worse, tracked. One night, around 2 a.m., I parked my car off a side street in Sunset Park to sleep. It was raining, hard. I was nodding off in the driver's seat when I saw headlights roll slow down the block, then stop behind me. I didn't move. Just watched. The car idled there. Minutes passed. Then it pulled off. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I went to the post office to ask if any mail had gone to that P.O. box in Jersey. They wouldn't tell me anything. "It's a security matter," the clerk said. "We can't share that information unless you're law enforcement." I laughed. "You mean unless I'm the fake version of me?" He didn't laugh back. I don't know what I thought he'd look like. Maybe some strung-out scammer. Or some smooth talker in a hoodie, smirking as he signs my name. But when I finally saw him, it wasn't either of those. It was worse. He looked normal. Like someone I'd pass in a crowd and forget 5 seconds later. Average height. Buzzed hair. Gray hoodie, jeans. Carrying a duffel bag over one shoulder and sipping a bodega coffee. The only reason I knew it was him? He walked out of that Ridgewood apartment building I'd traced the lease to, the one I wasn't supposed to know about, and handed a wad of cash to the super on the front steps. They talked. Laughed. The guy called him Ryan. My name. I watched from across the street, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. He had my build. My face, more or less, maybe not exactly, but close enough to pass on a license photo. He even had my posture, somehow. Like he'd studied it. I snapped a photo. Hands shaking. Got a couple more from different angles. Then I slipped away before he saw me. That night, I sat in a 24-hour diner with a cheap coffee and stared at the pictures. Zoomed in. Looked for anything that might tell me who he really was. Nothing. No name tag. No tattoos. Just me. A worse version of me. I printed the photos. Took them to the cops the next morning. The same detective, Halprin, sighed when he saw me. You again. I dropped the photos on his desk. That's him. The guy using my name. I watched him deliver rent to the Ridgewood address on my lease. That's the landlord. He called him Ryan. Halprin looked at the photos. Frowned. Okay, he said slowly. You want to file another report? No, I said. I want you to pick him up. Question him. Just do something. Halprin tapped his pen on the desk. That's not how this works. You can't just bring in a guy because you saw him near a building. What if he is you, and you're the imposter? That one landed like a punch to the gut. You think I'm the fake? He shrugged. I don't know what I think anymore. But it's messy. Your ID's been used in 6 different cities, your address history's a disaster, and your signature's on 4 different loans. The system says that's you. I leaned over the desk. My voice low. The system's wrong. Halprin met my stare but didn't say anything. I left before I said something that'd get me cuffed again. That night I slept in my car with my wallet under my head. Just in case. I dreamed about him, that guy with my face, walking into a dealership, smiling for the security camera as he drives away in a car I'd never see. In the dream, he turns and winks at me through the lens. I woke up cold. The next day, I got an email from a law firm. Subject line, intent to collect, civil suit incoming. Apparently, I'd skipped out on a rental furniture contract, another one, this time for a place in Jersey City. Couch, washer/dryer, 2 smart TVs. In the body of the email, there was an attachment. A copy of the rental agreement. Signed by me. Dated 2 weeks ago. Underneath was a scanned photo ID, my driver's license. Only this one was newer. Cleaner. A fresh reissue. I zoomed in. And there it was. His face. Not a copy of mine. Not someone who looked like me. But me. Somehow, impossibly, me. I took that image to the DMV the next day. Didn't bother with appointments. Just waited in line, watching the minutes bleed off the clock like water from a cracked pipe. When it was finally my turn, I asked to speak with a supervisor. I showed her the image. This license, I said, was issued in my name. But that's not my face. She adjusted her glasses, zoomed in, tilted her head. Looks like you. It's not. I've never taken that photo. The background's different. The timestamp doesn't match my renewal date. And this ID was issued 2 weeks ago. I haven't stepped foot in this building in over a year. She asked for my information. Pulled up my file. Her brow furrowed. It says here you filed for a reissue in person. Verified with a utility bill and lease agreement in your name. No, he filed. With forged documents. She clicked through a few more screens. There's a record of a new address. Ridgewood, Queens. That's his address, I said. Not mine. She leaned back. Sir, you're going to need to escalate this through our fraud investigation unit. I can give you a form. I laughed. A little too loud. People turned. I've filled out 5 forms, I said. I've filed 3 police reports. I've had my credit frozen, disputed loans I didn't take, and been arrested for trying to clear my own name. I'm not filling out another form. She looked nervous. Probably thought I was about to flip. I didn't. I just left. There was nowhere left to go. I couldn't apply for housing. Couldn't open a new account. Couldn't pass a background check for a job. Every system was poisoned. I called one of those identity theft protection companies, the kind that runs commercials with scary music and actors staring in horror at their laptops. The rep on the line was polite. Empathetic, even. But when I gave him my case number and a rundown of the situation, he paused. "You're saying someone has a government-issued ID with your photo?" "Yes." "And you filed disputes with the credit bureaus?" "Yes." "Police reports?" "Yes." "Have you tried speaking with an identity recovery attorney?" I froze. "Wait, that's a thing?" He gave me a number. "A firm in Midtown. Specializes in identity fraud litigation." I called. They charged $500 just to open a file. I paid it. Half on a prepaid debit card, the other half borrowed from the last friend who still returned my texts. The lawyer, Angela, was sharp. Mid-30s, aggressive, wore frustration like a badge of honor. I met her in a dingy office with paper-stuffed folders stacked in every corner like insulation. She listened to everything. Took notes. Asked for every document I had. When I showed her the fake ID with my name and his face, she said something no one else had. This wasn't some random scam. I blinked. "What do you mean?" She leaned forward. "This is a full-blown identity replacement. He didn't just steal your info. He became you. At least, as far as the system's concerned." "But why me?" Angela shrugged. "Clean record. Good credit. No real family to raise red flags. You're what we call a soft target." I swallowed. "What can we do?" She opened a folder and laid out the plan: lawsuits, subpoenas, court orders, DMV appeals. A long, uphill war. "It's not going to be quick," she said. "It's not going to be cheap. But if you don't fight this now, in 5 years, he'll have lived more of your life than you have." I stared at the photo again. My face. His smile. And a line of text beneath it, valid through 2033. Angela hit the ground running. She subpoenaed DMV records, opened fraud investigations with every agency that touched my name, and filed cease and desist letters with the lenders chasing me. For the first time since this nightmare started, someone was actually on my side, and knew how to fight. But that's when we discovered just how deep this thing had gone. She pulled my tax records from the IRS. 2 returns. Both filed under my social security number. One was mine, the last return I'd filed legitimately, back when I was still living in that one bedroom in Crown Heights. The other? Filed 4 months ago, by someone claiming my same name, same SSN, but a different address, employer, and income. And they got a refund. Over $6,000. "Let me guess," I said. "Direct deposit?" Angela nodded. "To a checking account we don't recognize. Opened under your name. But with his address. How does the IRS let this happen?" She sighed. "They don't verify identity unless someone reports it. And most people don't know they've been hit until it's too late. The refund already went out. He beat you to it." I leaned back in the chair. I felt sick. So now I was a liar and a tax cheat. Angela reported the fraud to the IRS. We had to submit a Form 14039, identity theft affidavit, and wait up to 180 days for them to process it. Meanwhile, my legitimate return from this year was frozen. No refund. No stimulus. No earned income credit. Nothing. Every time she turned over a rock, more of my life crawled out with someone else's fingerprints on it. He'd registered a business using my identity. A junk removal service based out of Newark. Bank accounts in 3 different states. He'd even applied for a PayPal credit card and defaulted on it, another black mark on my credit. Angela started calling him the Shadow. She said these cases were rare, this organized, this complete. "He's not just a scammer," she said. "He's someone who studied you. Watched you. Knew when and how to make the swap." I asked her what that meant. She told me a story about a guy in Colorado, same thing. Identity stolen, life rewritten, credit wrecked. Except that guy found the imposter, followed him, confronted him, and ended up in jail for assault. They'll provoke you, she said. Push you just far enough. Then play victim. And guess what? On paper, he's you. I asked her what the endgame was. What did this guy get out of all this? She didn't answer right away. Then she said, if I had to guess. He's setting up a clean slate. Could be prepping to disappear under your name. Could be selling your ID to someone else. Could be hiding from something worse than debt. I looked at her. Worse than this? She didn't blink. Yeah. Angela called me at 10:43 a.m. on a Tuesday. You ever work at a place called Mason and Drew Media? Yeah, I said. That was one of my first gigs out of school. Why? They called me. Your HR record came up flagged when they were doing end-of-year audits. Apparently, you stopped by 2 weeks ago asking for a verification letter. Said you needed it for a new apartment. I didn't say anything. Just stared at the wall. She continued, he used your name. Your old employee ID. Even got one of the admins to print a copy of your W-2 from back then. I laughed, sharp, bitter. Let me guess. No one thought it was weird. Not until the audit. They matched the visit log to your ID and realized the photo didn't match the one on file. But by then, he already had what he wanted. It hit me like a punch. That office had old records on me, contracts, social, even direct deposit info. I'd trusted those people. Drank beers with them after hours. Built parts of my resume there. And now this guy was walking in, shaking hands, grinning, asking for files. Becoming me. Angela called it deep impersonation. Said most identity thieves stick to surface-level scams, credit cards, loans, stuff they can bail on. But the ones who dig in? The ones who walk into your past and take trophies? They're after more than money, she said. They want the narrative. They want the bones of your life. I asked her why. Because it's cleaner than making their own. Because it's easier to steal a story than build one. She said something else then. Something that stuck with me. These guys don't just want to be you. They want to bury you. I started calling old jobs. Old clients. Just in case. 3 had already spoken to someone using my name. 2 had handed over references. 1 had sent payment for freelance work done under my SSN, work I never did. I felt like a man whose reflection had walked out of the mirror and started living without him. And every time I tried to warn someone, I got the same look, confusion, skepticism, pity. Like I was the scam. Angela filed emergency injunctions against several companies, forcing them to flag any requests under my name. She worked non-stop, even had her paralegal building a profile on the shadow, trying to find a real name, a photo, something. But the shadow stayed just out of reach. Then, one night, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. Subject line, you should have just stayed quiet. Inside was a single sentence. I'm better at being you than you ever were. Attached was a photo. It was my old apartment, the one I lost after my roommate bailed. Same doorway. Same chipped mailbox. Except now there was a nameplate on the door. Ryan T. Marshall. My name. In gold letters. Like I'd never left. I waited until midnight. Didn't tell Angela. Didn't tell anyone. Just drove across the bridge with my hoodie up and my hands trembling on the wheel. That building in Bed-Stuy, my old place, it had one of those fake secure buzzers. You could punch any number and most folks would let you in without checking. I hit the last apartment on the list. No answer. Tried another. BZZZT. The door clicked open. I slipped inside. Everything smelled the same, old paint, cheap pine cleaner, a hint of mildew from the basement. I stood at the bottom of the stairwell, listening. Then I heard it, faint music, a laugh. My voice. No, not mine. His. Apartment 2B. My old unit. I climbed the stairs slow, heart pounding like a drumline. The hallway felt tighter than I remembered. Every light buzzed overhead. When I reached the door, I just stood there. Frozen. Then I saw it. Outside the door, in a little wire basket, 2 pieces of mail. Both addressed to me. Utility bills. His name. My name. My address. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was entrenched. I should have walked away. But I didn't. I knocked. A pause. Then, yeah? His voice was close enough to mine to rattle me. Package, I said, low. I heard the lock. The door opened halfway. And there he was. Same height. Same build. A little leaner. Cleaner cut. He wore my style like a second skin, plain tee, jeans, worn sneakers. His hair was shaped like mine used to be. His eyes flicked over my face, calm. Cold. Can I help you? He said, like we were strangers in line at the DMV. I didn't answer. Just stared. Something flickered behind his eyes. Not fear. Recognition. But he didn't back down. Didn't run. Didn't slam the door. He smiled. You're late. What the hell are you doing? I asked. My voice cracked. Why are you doing this? He tilted his head. You left this life behind, he said. I picked it up. Cleaned it. Made it work. It was my life. He shrugged. You weren't using it. I wanted to swing. I wanted to scream. Instead, I reached for my phone, thumb hovering over the camera app. He laughed. You really think the cops will believe you? You look like shit. No job, no address, no record. I'm the one paying taxes. I'm the one on the lease. Not for long, I snapped. We've got lawyers on you. Court filings. Subpoenas. You're not walking away from this. He leaned in. I already did. Then he closed the door. And locked it. I stood there, shaking, phone still in hand. Behind the door, I heard him laugh again. Muffled. Distant. Like I was the joke. I went back to my car and drove to nowhere. Slept in a parking lot with my jacket over my chest. When I woke up, I had a new email. Court date scheduled. You are now legally obligated to appear in civil court for defaulted loans and damages. Angela called me an hour later. You're listed as the defendant now, she said. They moved fast. Faster than they should have. Someone's pulling strings. I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. I knew what I had to do. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Sterile carpet, cheap wood paneling, a judge who looked like she'd heard every excuse in the world. And probably didn't believe any of them. Angela sat beside me, stiff-backed, notes in hand. We'd prepared everything, the police reports, the fraud affidavits, the tax documents, the video stills from Ridgewood. I even had a copy of the email he sent me. I'm better at being you than you ever were. But the prosecution had something better. Paperwork. Loan contracts. Bank statements. Lease agreements. All signed. All notarized. All matching the state-issued ID. The one with my name. The one with his face. Angela objected. Argued the identity was in dispute. That a criminal impersonator had systematically hijacked my life over months. That the documents were contaminated, the data corrupted. But when they called the leasing agent from Jersey City, and she pointed at me and said, "Yes, that's the guy who signed in person," I saw it in the judge's eyes. Doubt. It didn't matter that I'd filed police reports. Or that I had sworn affidavits. Or that I'd lived out of my car for 6 weeks trying to clear this mess. The record was against me. That's all the system saw. It took 20 minutes to lose a life I'd spent 30 years building. When it was over, the judge's voice was flat. We find the defendant liable for the outstanding debts, including interest and penalties, totaling $51,286. Bang of the gavel. No shock. No outrage. Just numbers on paper. We walked out in silence. Angela didn't say a word until we were halfway down the courthouse steps. "I'll file an appeal," she said. "But it's going to be uphill. They're locking it in. Making you the fall guy." I nodded. My mouth was dry. "They gave him my name," I said. "And now they're handing me his debts." Angela stopped walking. "He wanted this," she said. "Not just to steal from you. To replace you. The debt, the eviction, the arrest, it's all meant to bury you. Leave no trace behind." I nodded again. But something inside me had shifted. Not rage. Not fear. Something colder. Resolve. "I'm not paying for his life," I said. "I'll burn the whole system down before I carry his weight." Angela looked at me, no pity, no smile. "Then we keep fighting." Update, that was 6 weeks ago. I lost the appeal. The judge said the burden of proof hadn't been met. The debts stand. My credit is destroyed. My bank account is frozen. I've been denied jobs I'm qualified for, housing I can afford, and a life I used to own. But I'm still here. And I'm not done. He may have my face on paper, but I've got something he doesn't, the truth, and the will to drag it into the light. One court may have ruled against me. But I've got copies. Photos. Testimonies. Dates, locations, faces. I've got allies now. People who've been through this, people who are helping me trace him, piece by piece. So if you're reading this, and you think it can't happen to you, think again. I handed over my ID to buy time. He used it to steal my future. But I'm taking it back. Whatever it takes.